Hello everybody and welcome to the April 2025 update from Clydebridge Station. We start off in the house with an advert for House of Fraser from the 1986 Commonwealth Games book. The games were held in Edinburgh that year. And this advert here for House of Fraser is going to be of particular interest to us in this video. Today's House of Fraser has been through various ownership changes, financial troubles, and it comprises just 26 stores. And it's under the control of what's called Frasers Group, which is owned by Sports Direct. When this advert was published, it had over 100 stores, all trading under various regional titles that had been acquired over the years. For instance, Army and Navy, London and South East. Binns, which would take an interest in, the north of England, except for one location. Dingles was the southwest of England. Then there was Dickens and Jones, which was in parts of London and the home counties. In Scotland, it traded as Arnotts or Frasers. Arnotts was small medium stores. Frasers was large medium to large stores, but except for one location. And a lot of these locations are now closed. For instance, Arnotts in Kirkcaldy, which was my local one, closed in 1988. Frasers is still open in Glasgow. In 1935, Binns, then still an independent company, bought Robinson Brothers, who had two stores in Carlisle and Dumfries. And they bought another department store in Edinburgh in 1951. Upon their acquisition by House of Fraser in 1953, the Binns store in Edinburgh was subsequently rebranded as Frasers. It's now the Johnny Walker Experience. But the Binns in Dumfries remained Binns until it closed in 1990. And it's that Binns store which is going to be sitting on the street scene, replacing the old Strathclyde Regional Council office block. It was an office building I bought many years ago in the previous layout, but it's knackered. It just doesn't look right. I'm going to therefore be scratch building a House of Fraser. The photo that you see on screen now is from 1971 and shows Binns in Dumfries on the High Street. Notice that it's the red building, the red sandstone building. And notice you might be able to just see the restaurant sign on it. That dates from a late 1940s rebuild. The next photo is from 1977. It gives you a better view of Binns. And it's that which we're going to be building. I'll explain about the footprint when we get down to the shed in a couple of minutes. What I will say to you is that the majority of the items that I'm going to be using in this build are from scale model scenery. Links to the products will be in the description below. It'll have a fictitious name, however. It'll have House of Fraser at the top, but there'll be a fictitious trading name. And what I will tell you as well is, I'm not going to say that name right now, but there's at least 6 people on here on Facebook who will be very pleased and very honoured to have that see the name of the store. I've drew a plan up for the building and that's down at the shed now, and I'll talk about how that's going to come out in a minute. I'm going to take you over to the laptop so you can actually see a couple more images. One is of Binns on Flickr in 1984, and the other one is a more recent Street View image showing the Binns frontage, which has been completely rebuilt. Now, if you've got any comments, queries or suggestions about this update, then please leave them in the comments box below. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon so you can be notified of when new videos appear on this YouTube channel. There's at least one per calendar month. I don't have my whistle to hand, but if you're all ready, then all aboard, let's go. Well, this is a Flickr image. It was taken by Stuart Dobie, or uploaded by Stuart Dobie, and it was taken on February 1984, so 41 years ago. It's quite an interesting photo, not only for the Daimler Fleet Line bus in the old Western Scottish livery, but look at the car. I believe that might be a Morris Ital Coupe. That looks like a Ford Fiesta Mark 1. Another one there. An Austin Allegro. How many of those vehicles are still on the road today? But here we have Binns. Again, and you can see there's the restaurant branding. Now, notice, as I've mentioned already to you, about the footprint I'll have, 5 sets of 3 windows each. But in mine, it's going to have to be 5 sets of 2 windows each. The other thing to mention to you as well is that the building will be the same size in terms of stories, but some of the decoration, like up at the top, you can just see, I'm not going to be able to do that, so I'm going to have to revise that. Now, if I show you what the image looks like from December 2024, that's approximately the same view. The Binns frontage has all been completely done up. Nothing to suggest that was a mighty department store one time. Trespass, Body Care and the Bank of Scotland occupy it. But there's nothing there to say that was at one time a mighty Binns department store. As you can see there, and the street is also pedestrianised now. What we'll do now is we'll go down to the shed and we'll have a look at what I've got and what I'm going to do with it. And it may be necessary to make make slight adjustments as I go, but I sincerely hope I don't have to. And hopefully at the end of it all, we'll have a nice department store. Well, this is the plan I've got here. It's going to be 25 centimetres long, 16 centimetres high. It'll go back 5 centimetres, but the inside rear will be 4 centimetres back from the front. That's due to the positioning of an electrical socket and plug. So I've drew everything out on card and on paper, and this will be my template that I'll refer to when drawing lines out for the cutting. It's going to be all done on modelling card. The bottom section here is going to be a concrete sheet. I've got 2 sheets of scale model scenery concrete left. I'll be ordering more when I come to do the depot again. So that'll go for the bottom section. The section above the canopy is going to be Flemish red brick. Sections are going to be raised, sections are going to be lowered, and this is the sash windows that I've ordered from Scale Model Scenery. Links to everything that I've used from SMS in the description below. And I've covered over this section now because that's where the name is going to be. It'll be a House of Fraser, but it's got a trading name. But I'm not letting you know that yet. That's going to be a little surprise. How I'm going to film this is I'll film parts. I'll film it all as I go along. But when you see it, it'll be done as one bit at a time. So the canopy first, you'll see that, or it'll be built over various stages and various other bits. So let's get going. This is a piece for our canopy. It's going to be 0.5 centimetre high at the front, 1 centimetre high at the back. It'll be the same length as the shop, sorry, as the department store, 25 centimetres. According to my dimensions, the base bit is going to come out 1.5 centimetres. So that means, therefore, that as well as cutting these strips, I'm going to have to cut 2 triangles with a 1.5 centimetre, I'll call them a triangle, but something, you know what I mean. That'll be 1.5 centimetres long along the base, 1 centimetre high at the back, 0.5 centimetre high at the front. And I'll also have to put a piece on top as well, and then it'll all need to get glued together. So I'll get started on cutting the bits out and then I'll show you what they're like. That's the canopy now built. I had to make some adjustments to it. I tried to put it together with laser cut kit glue, but in the end I've used Yoo-hoo glue to get it together. Now it is still a bit fragile, so it's going to just sit up here now. And once the glue's dry, that'll get sprayed. I'll put 2 spray coats of primer on, then I'll spray the bottom part with 3 coats of white. And then once that's dry, I'll get the top sides done with black acrylic paint. The next time you see this canopy, it'll be black and white. And there we have it. That is the canopy ready. Almost anyway. So it's been given its coats of black, and it's just this normal go Hobby World. I've got that at B&M, so I've used that along with white to make up the road surface colour. The canopy will now get stuck onto the building, and then once that's done, it'll really be taking shape. There we go, that's the front of it done. I had a template for windows, but it didn't seem to be big enough, so what I've done instead was I used, not that one, that bit of the windows, and just drew lines around that. Now the reason for using that is, when it comes to this piece, I'll try and see, the windows will sit in and see like that. Now obviously this isn't ready yet, far from it. It's got to get a coat of grey primer on it. Then it's got to get the brick wrap put on it and the concrete wrap put on it. But even before I can do all of that, I've got to make the side pieces. As a complication for the side pieces, it's got to be this is actually going to be a spare piece, but just to show you, I'll need to make a small window in here. It'll only be about a couple of centimetres at the most, so that the window displays can be seen on both sides, here and here. But already it's looking a bit like a department store, which is what it should be. There we go, that's 2 side pieces done. I'm going to just show you this off camera, on camera. If I put that there, you can just see that it does just fit. I didn't want to make it any smaller, but that's about the best I can get it at, so I'm going to just keep it at that. One advantage of doing this as well, by the way, is that when the structure comes together, when it comes to be building the actual window display sections, the window displays will actually be able to strengthen these as well. So that's one advantage of having the windows either side. These all now need to be given primer, 1 possibly 2 coats of dark grey primer, and then what I can do is to start adding in the brick and concrete overlays onto it. I'll then have to go and start remarking where I want things like the canopy. I've actually got my plan here, so the base of the canopy will be 1 centimetre up from there, so I can always measure that and put a little mark in as well. As I say, once I've got the priming done, which I'll do off camera, I'll start applying the brick and the concrete overlay. Well, here we have the building now, and I've applied the brick onto the front here of the main front and onto the 2 sides. And you'll see I've still got to cut the windows in there. The next thing I'm doing, and you can see I'm doing it now, is cutting the holes for where the windows go on here. Once that's done on the front piece, I'll then make the put the concrete sheet along the front here, and then cut it, cut those spaces that I need for that. These 2 sections here, the concrete sheet comes up to about 5 centimetres. It won't matter where exactly it comes up to here, because obviously the canopy is going to cover over part of this anyway. There is a little bit of bubbling here, but again, a lot of that is going to be covered over by the parts of the the brickwork being raised out. I can't obviously apply that until I apply the canopy, so it is a bit of a long and tedious task, and as is cutting out the window spaces. But that is the job I'm doing right now, cutting out the window spaces for the top section here. That's the front done, save for the other set of doors there, and obviously the lettering to go on later. And we've just started to test the windows going in. Notice that the doors, how I've done these, I cut the pieces out separately, sprayed them silver, and then I went and put them, after they dried, onto the cellophane with Yoo-hoo glue. I tried laser cut kit glue, but they weren't sticking properly, but Yoo-hoo glue, no problem at all. I've also got the raised sections in, so I'm now hoping that the word restaurant will fit in there. I won't be long finding that out, I can assure you right now. It may well be the case that I have to put restaurant here instead. I'm looking at the size of the lettering on the Quadrant Park nightclub, and I'll just take you along there. Yes, I think I'm going to have to put the word restaurant here instead. But not to worry, that's not a big issue. And the word House of Fraser will be going up there. White lettering here, and it'll be black lettering there. You might think this is a massive development, Robert. It is, but then if I compare it to, say, Pickwick Books, look how tall that is. So it's not that big in terms of height, but in terms of length, I know. And I've got the first of the window displays ready for when we come to put it all together. The window displays are a little bit complicated in that they have to actually deal with two windows, the main one on the front and the side one, with the exception of the middle window display. In each case, the window display is going to go back 3 centimetres. The reason for that is obviously because of where the window is positioned on each. See, if I position that there, just see. Each window display has got to be half a centimetre high. So I'll make a frame that will go round the window display base and glue that on. So that's high up off the ground, half a centimetre. And the window display will have a 3.5 centimetre height at the back wall and the side wall. Now this is the base of one of the displays. I'll get the other pieces cut out and I'll use Yoo-hoo glue to glue it all together, and then I'll show what it looks like. There we go, that's one of the window displays now made up. It's obviously for the left hand side of the building as we look at it. Couple of things to point out to you. It will need to get a priming coat on it, and then it'll need to obviously get given a couple of coats of white. The other thing to mention about this is that I'll need to put items in here before I attach it to the building, but I can't then attach the roof on until it's attached to the building. Because obviously, as I say, I've got to put the stuff in, and the roof would need to sit almost on top there. So I'll put the roof on once it's on the front of the building, and then that'll allow me to get the that window display done, and it'll also give the building some strength as well. And as I say, I've got 3 of these to make, 2 corner ones and the middle one. The middle one will have a second wall on this side here. Plus the fact as well, this will give actually extra strength to the building as well, because it will be sitting in the corners, so it will actually help the strength of the building as well. I'll get these 3 made up, and then we'll take a look at a couple items in the display. Here's what I've actually done with the window. So you can see I've put it in the other way around. It might actually even be the right way, to be honest with you. Looking at it again, I think I've actually done it the right way around. So anyway, I've got another 19 of these to put in, and they'll all be done the same way. And what I found was I used the laser cut kit glue to try and glue them on to the cellophane, but I've now found that the Yoo-hoo glue probably is much better. We're coming away there with the laser cut kit glue. I don't know why, but I'll get the other 19 in and we're going to get this all put together. This is us starting to now put this together, and you can see that this has got the corner here has got a bit of strength with this display unit. What I'm now going to do is be off camera, turn this around and put the rest of the windows in, and then off camera again put the display units in, and then add the canopy. Now I've also got interiors to put in here, and as already mentioned, the plugging cable is going to be a restricting factor there. Not to worry, we'll get round that. I'll just turn it round the other way. You can see I'm thinking that it's going to be 3.5 centimetres the depth of the floor will be before the back comes up. And what's also now going to happen is when the wall comes up at the back, it'll go here, the top part, the roof will be grey, and I'm going to put another strip of modelling card in around it, to something like what you've got there on the NatWest Bank or the Headingley Insurance Services building. It's just that sort of thing there. And I've got then to add the other interior pieces too, but how it's going to look right now I think is going to be we'll have a couple of displays in there and another display in there. It's a mammoth project, isn't it? But then you find me a House of Fraser store that wasn't mammoth back in the day in a major town. But yeah, and these figures here are just the same street figures that will be getting reapplied later on to the street scene. Yeah. I've also got other figures as well, shoppers, and I'll put a couple in there, maybe one in there and one up in the next floor. And I've got seated figures to go in the restaurant area. But as already mentioned, it's looking likely that I'm going to have to put the restaurant lettering here. That's all the windows in. Notice with one of them, it's like it's been opened, but I've glazed it anyway. It was a production line process. I stuck these onto masking tape and sprayed some. Then as they were drying, made some more windows up and sprayed more onto masking tape. Placement of masking tape, sprayed and took the other ones off and glued them into position. Then used Yoo-hoo glue on the back of them to stick the clear polythene on to make them look glazed. We've got the entrance doors in place, and we've got all the window displays in place. Now if I just show you one problem that's come up, I don't think I'm going to get any letters in there now. But not to worry, because somebody suggested that the lettering should go above the canopy. So we'll have the trading name here, Restaurant House of Fraser, and in any case the trading name is going to be on the side here and on the other side as well. So perhaps it's worked out quite nice in the end. I've been making the back scene up that will go onto here, and that'll be getting put on towards the end before the lettering gets applied. I've also decided to put some walling inside here, 1 centimetre high, and that'll go there, and it's and round out the back here, and it's really to get something for the ceiling and the roof to actually stick onto. That is the exterior built, and it's now time to go and do the interiors one floor at a time. The restaurant one will be the hardest one to do. If I put the camera in, you can just see the interior starting to come on. What I'm going to do is I'll carefully turn it round, and you can see where we're up to. That pencil line is where the back seam will go. Now, the back seam is done.
I'll just get it for you. There you go. So that's the back scene there, and it would sit in like that. Obviously I may need to just trim it a little bit to get it to fit properly. However, it can't go in yet because I've still got the second floor, which will contain the restaurant, which you can just see here. The challenge I've got this time is that I need to put the floor in first, like I've done here, but I need to put it in close enough so that figures can be seen sitting looking out the window or that. I've not got the seated figures to hand here, but it's no use having the floor here and then we've got somebody missing down like that. What I'll have to do is actually make up little seats for them to sit on. I don't have enough scale model scenery benches to do that with, and I'm not going to be in a position to make up order new benches. And in any case, if I just turn this back round, there, you're only going to really see them looking out the windows anyway, so it won't really matter what the hell they're sitting on, I think. So the plan is, if I show you that the restaurant on the back scene comes towards in between that pillar. So that's what my plan is. The best way I think I'm going to do this is to try and work out by putting the floor up here and maybe marking out where the windows are, and that way I can then know where I'm going to put the benches for them to sit on and then put it into position. Once that's done, I'll then be able to put on the top piece, the roof. I'll make the roof to go on there, and I can tell you right now it's going to be a grey roof like that there with a brick going around the other parts, but I'll explain that part to you as we get closer to the finish line. That's the floor being glued in, and excuse me, and what I've done is I've started to make these little benches up, and a figure will be glued, or maybe two will be glued to there. So I'm looking at the possibility of one there and one there. So maybe just 3 sets of tables. The tables will be hidden, of course, and they're below the window line, so that's the most important thing I'm happy with. The only problem I'm going to have is likely to be here, but actually, no, I think I've got away with it. And the little markings are where approximately I want them. Each one will have to get copy decked. No, they won't have to get copy decks on, they'll have to get yoo-hooed onto the benches and then they'll get put into position. 6 benches, and I've got 12 people. I could have 10 people perhaps. And then obviously that is going to be the only part I'm going to have there with people in it. It's a funny thing about House of Fraser stores that were actually over more than 2 levels, that the restaurant always seemed to be on the top floor. At Hull it was on the top floor, at Dundee it was on the top floor. At Binns Dumfries was on the top floor. And if anybody happens to know of locations where that was not the case, leave them in the comments box below. But I'll get on and start making these benches and start getting these people glued in and ready to tuck into a meal. There we've got all the diners now in the restaurant. The benches, as I say, were made up from scrap pieces of modelling card. The diners are a mixture of Fraser and Bachman seated people. So that's a nice full restaurant there. This strip on the top here needs a little bit of explaining. In order to have hidden this joins and folds, as you can see here. What I've done is I've made up sections of this Flemish brick which will go on the sides here, and once the back seam is in place, on the back seam as well. What will happen is the roof section will slide in underneath these as well, and it will still be held on with a couple of supports there. That way it will provide good strength and make the roof look more complete. And then what will happen is the back seam will go on, and another strip like this will go on that top bit of the back seam. Then I've got some more of the scale model scenery coping, and it's going to go all the way around. And then that way it'll give it a nice sort of finished look. And if you want an example of how it might look, there's the Royal Bank of Scotland building there. That gives you an idea of what it should look like. Admittedly, the roof will be a bit lower, but that's the plan. It'll just slot in there. The roof will be grey on the top side that we'll see, but on the inside, where the restaurant that will be, is going to be white, hopefully to brighten it up a bit. So the next bit that you'll see, just turn that background carefully. The next bit that you'll see this structure should be ready to have its lettering put on. We'll see in a minute. I'll just bring the roof out, the building out, so you can see the roof briefly. I'm being very careful how I do this so you don't see the trading name currently. There's the roof there. One problem that came up when I was putting the roof in was that I used a Yoo-hoo glue and then some laser cut kit glue, and it made a bit of a mess. To get around that, I simply used the grey that I've been using on the tarmac and just painted that in where it can't be seen. But that's the roof now complete. All that's now got to be done to complete the building is to put the name on, House of Fraser, restaurant, and then on the two sides the trading name and the House of Fraser logo. I've already stuck the trading name above the doors. That is why I'm being very careful so you can't see it, I hope. Let's go and show you how we get that done. These are letters from Scale Model Scenery, which are identical to the ones I used when building the Quadrant Park nightclub. And by the way, links to all these items are in the description below. And as you can see, I've stuck them onto masking tape and then sprayed them. These letters only need one coat. Now, to show you how this is going to be done, I'll put the word of there and then work my way out in both directions. It's a little tip I'll give you. Always start with the middle letter and then work both ways. The House of Fraser will go up there, and then the word restaurant will go in there in red before the final reveal of the trading name. And there we have it. After a few weeks of work, House of Fraser at Clydebridge is complete. There's a side it will be rarely seen. There's the frontage, based of course as I say on Binns Dumfries. And on here, I'll just put the camera down there. Is the Cameron's signage. Actually, I need to bring the camera back a little bit more so you can actually see it better. There you go. And there we have it. Now, why is it called Camerons of Clydebridge? Very simply, it's a little tribute to and thanks to a family that I know in Inverness who actually used to live here in my hometown, and indeed we're actually neighbours in the block of masonettes that I live in. And their surname was Cameron. They moved in 1992. My mum had been watching the house on behalf of the seller, and when she saw them arrive, she went down to introduce herself and explain it, and they come up and had a quick look at our house. Did Dawn, and after that we got to know them quite well. My mum helped bring up the two lovely daughters, Catherine and Hannah, and after that, they moved to Thurso and then down to Glenrothes. This was through Don's work with the ambulance service, and then to Inverness, and Don's happily retired now. And we used to go, when my mum and dad were living, we always went up to see them, and then after my dad's death we still went up to see him, and I keep in contact with Don every month on the telephone. And I can tell you that I have already told Don about this. The Facebook post is up tagging Hannah, Catherine and Francis in it, and Don's sister-in-law Vera is tagged in it as well as Vera's two sons William and Andrew. So this is really a great thank you to them for being such wonderful friends, and it's quite appropriate as well that it should just be near to my mum's little memorial, which is across the road from the department store, so it's very, very appropriate. The whole area does look a bit bare because there's no road markings down at the moment, no street furniture, but that'll be next month and I'll explain about that shortly. We'll be seeing that frontage again, and indeed the side elevation, just before the end of the programme when I give the shout outs. But before that, let's take a little look at something that I bought at Model Rail Scotland. Yes, English Electric fans, it's another class 37, and there she is, 37417, and appropriate as I've been speaking about my friends in Inverness, who the department store is named after. This carries the name Highland Region, Inverness being the capital of the Highlands. I discussed in the March updates the story of the class 37/4 subclass when we were looking at 37422, so I won't go and repeat myself too much about it. But what I will say is that 8 class 37/4s were allocated to Inverness Depot, 37414 to 21 inclusive. And so this was one of the 8 that were allocated here, and they worked alongside 3 class 37/0s at 37260 to 2 on the Far North and Kyle lines, and these were equipped with radio signalling from the outset. The Kyle line having went over to the system in 1984, I believe, with the rest of the Far North going over in 87, and then the Dingwall to Inverness section in 1988. And that's why it's got these aerials on the cab ends. The locomotive was purchased from the Signalbox at Model Rail Scotland, and it's a second-hand class 37, so there are a couple of detail differences with the Bachmann new tooling of the class 37, of which this is a Bachmann one, by the way. She carries a large logo blue livery, and as it's an Inverness machine, it carries a Highland stag, which you see down there as well, with a Highland Rail emblem and BR emblem below it. Sound fitted, as you can hear, and the only class 37 I've got that's sound fitted. Now this is going to be my last class 37 for the layout, although I did say that about class 47s, and you'll see in the May update that class 37 number 36 has arrived. I digress. I've had it given a quick test run up and down the ramp off camera, and the track is needing cleaned again, so it will get cleaned prior to me starting filming the May update. But the locomotive is in good condition. It's pristine, so it's not been weathered as far as I can see. It has a driver in this end of the locomotive. Detailing kit was supplied with it, including snowplows. Unfortunately, I can't fit them because I need couplers at both ends with me having a dead end terminal layout. But the colours are spot on for this locomotive. The light functions work very well. You can hear the other noises that it makes, as this is one of my favourites. And it does capture the sound of the English electric engine very well, or tractors as were known. One thing I have noticed on this machine as well, and I don't know how well the camera can pick this out, but I'm not sure if that was actually the correct position for the data panel on a large logo livery class 37, but that is really just nitpicking. It's a very good machine. As I say, it was second hand, purchased from the Junction Box at Model Rail Scotland, and they've done a very good job on it. What I'll do is I'll leave a link to their website below so you can actually have a check out of the Junction Box. I believe they're in Haltwhistle, which ironically is served by the Clydebridge to Newcastle Regional Railways Express service. And there were a couple other coaches that I bought at Model Rail Scotland as well. And these were purchased from Ellis Clark Trains, so we'll actually put this one on the track now for you. And in real life, please don't ever go and try and re-rail coaching stock or locomotives on points. But we've got here a Bachmann Mark 1 TSO. It's been fitted with these little paper gangway ends. Now the one at this end seems to have been glued in, but the one at this end hasn't. But not a problem with that, I can live with that, and that will actually be a replacement for an older Hornby Network South East Mark II. So this will actually be going in its place on the full Network South East train. If you want to know the coach I'm on about, it's the one that's absolutely filthy compared to the other two. Now, the shade of blue in that is absolutely correct. It's got the runway number 4945. There's no passengers included in this, with it being an older Bachmann tooling, but I suppose you could actually add passengers to that if you wished. Roof detail is absolutely fine. Only thing I would actually say here, if you actually bang one of these, is to watch, because there's a bit of detailing on the roof here that if you're not careful it could easily come off, so just be careful about that. But I'll be forming part of the Network South East train that regularly works between Glasgow East Kilbride and Clydebridge, or Glasgow Motherwell and Clydebridge, or all the way up to Dundee. So we'll put that back in the depot now. Now the other coach I purchased at Ellis Clark Trains is not able to run on the layout just yet, and I'll show you why. It too is a Mark 1, it's a Regional Railways one. My problem is that it actually has Hunt magnetic couplers and I need normal couplers, so it looks like when I'm down, next time I'm down to top up my account at Scooney Hobbies, I'll be purchasing some Bachmann couplers. But this is a Regional Railways Mark 1 coach. Now it too has the paper gangway ends, but these have been trimmed back. But as this will be hidden in a rake of other coaches, it's not a big issue. Carrying number 4873, it's well presented for the era that it models. The only slight issue that I've actually had with this coach so far, and you maybe just saw it there, is that it's not always taking turns properly, it's not always going round curves properly, and it's derailing. So that's something I'm going to look at, or I may end up having to just sell this coach if I can't get the problem sorted. But leave it with me, I'll see what I can do. Now that's the two coaches that I recently bought at Model Rail Scotland as well. now what I'm going to do is get 37417 onto the depot, and we'll compare it with 37423, which is the current Bachmann tooling, with this being the previous Bachmann tooling. Now, if you excuse all the people who are lying here on the concrete, who've dropped down in shock at the fact I've bought another 37, or much rather they're actually going to be going back onto the street scene in the May update, or during the May update, we can actually compare the two different toolings of the Class 37, with this one here, 37423, being a more recent tooling, the current Bachmann tooling. Now, there are a few small differences between the two types, some harder to pick up than others, and we'll start off on the roof where you can see the mesh here is a lot thicker on the fan cover than what it is on this one. Also, that is a full moulding there, whereas this feels more netty. I can put my finger on it and just press it a little bit. Don't ever do it too hard though, folks. The next thing is that on the Class 37 417, this little box here is a little bit more raised, and there's a couple of rivets along here, whereas on here it's a little bit smoother. It's not as raised, and these rivets are not here. The only other key difference that I can tell you about, there's two key differences I can tell you about, is it looks like that the bogies maybe have a slightly different design. Now, the Class 37/4s are fitted with the CP6 bogies, I believe, so they should be all the same. But on this one, it looks like that there might be slight differences between them. But that could just be me. There might not be. What I do notice is that the pipework that's on here has been picked out in white, but is black on there. That's correct. The simple reason being, obviously this was repainted for a naming ceremony. The fire pools on the nose ends, this one's actually the wrong design. It's a lot larger, whereas it should be behind a sort of glass or perspex panel, and it's correctly done on 37423. What that shows is that Bachmann have realised that it can be improved, and they've got got this one wrong here, and they've corrected it on this one. So, so obviously that's been sorted out. The other difference, and this is only because of the different liveries that they carry, is the fuel gauge on 37417, the surround is in red, whereas it's black here on 37423. That's correct, because it's purely to do with the fact that the locomotive's carrying rail freight triple grey. But that's your 37417, large logo blue livery, sound fitted. And in the coming months you'll see that operating on the layout as I manage to start clearing this depot area. And indeed next month there'll be some running shots in the May update. We'll finish this month with a few shout outs, and the first one is of course up here. Clydebridge Station is a proud partner of the Wrangler Clothing Company, so visit wrangler.com in your territory to find the best jeans in the world. A couple of layouts to give shout outs to, and these are all on YouTube. The first one I'm going to give a shout out to is Woodhill Park. Now he's done the unthinkable. He's actually finished his layout completely. So it'd be worth actually going to check out progress on it right from the start. That's Woodhill Park. The next shout out is to Walton-on-Trent. This is based loosely upon Stafford, and it's set in 1990 to 95. He runs quite a variety of rolling stock, mainly intercity trains, but he's also got two Network South East Class 47s, which I have here. 47715 Haymarket in NSC livery and 47706 in unbranded ScotRail livery. Also check out another layout set in this era, but set down in the West Country, and that's Wessex and West. I've given a shout out to them before, so give them a check out please as well. And one YouTube channel I really need to give a shout out to is Paul Clark BR80S, and that's a small s. British Rail in the 80s and 90s. He used to be on YouTube as Avoset1989, but for some reason he was telling me that he got his that YouTube had decided violated some guideline or other and removed his channel without notice. 12 years of work and 3,500 subscribers gone just like that, and he doesn't even know what he'd done wrong. So he's relaunched his channel, so please give this man some subscriptions. At the time of filming this update towards the end of March, he only had 6 subscribers. Let's get him back up to that 3,500 subscriber mark, please. And a couple of other shout outs that will give you just before I do wrap up this month's update. And the first one is to the boy band Just the Brave on Instagram, so if you could check them out please. And another one to check out, and again this is on Instagram, if you could check out Preston D. Barnes, please, a country music singer from Preston. Well, that's it for this April update. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I certainly have enjoyed building Cameron's department store, and I hope you like the actual story behind why it's called Cameron's. And if it's given you any ideas to possibly build your own House of Fraser store in, check out photos of House of Frasers, especially if there was one where you live, or if there used to be one where you live, and have a go at it and see what you can come up with. Next month, this rather bare area will start to get street furniture in. The road markings will be going in, street lamps will be going in, and we'll see how far we can get with installing the street furniture of that before I have to stop due to a lack of materials. And there'll be new bus shelters going in. I'm going to put one just about here, and there'll be one behind the camera. And as I say, the road markings will be going back in, along with all the people as well. And it'll include this little chap who'll be walking out of the Headingley Insurance Services office, having discovered that he's lost his no claims bonus. But that's all for next month. On screen shortly will be a button in the middle for you to subscribe to this channel, and please do so. That helps keep the channel going and it supports me. Also on the left hand side should be a link to a previous video, and there should be another link on the right hand side as well. And you can also subscribe to Clydebridge Station on Facebook and Blue Sky. I look forward to your company next time. And in the meantime, please, whatever you're doing, do take care of yourselves, won't you? And enjoy your layouts. We'll see you soon. Cheerio.